Welcome to the Sparta Dynasty Fantasy Football League news and updates, starring Shark, Dylan, Tyler, Ben, Alec, Chris, Smits, Zoms, Matt, Connor, Germ, and your commissioner and host, Branson. Alright, with the first pick in the draft, Chris goes Christian McCaffrey, followed by Odell Beckham Jr., Austin Eckler, DK Metcalf, Keenan Allen, Evan Ingram, Matt Ryan, Keyshawn Vaughn, T.Y. Hilton, N'Keal Harry, Damian Williams, Aaron Rodgers, Ian Thomas, New England Patriots defense, Duke Johnson, KJ Hamler, Kai Forbath, Frank Gore, Blake Jarwin, Dawson Knox, Josh Reynolds, Will Disley, Trent Taylor, Kelvin Harmon, Auden Tate to finish it out. Some of the draft highlights for Chris include the mid-draft siesta he took around 14, finished up auto-drafting, 2 early charges he took with Austin Eckler and Keenan Allen, 5 total tight ends drafted, as well as his boy Frank Gore. Even though these are both auto drafts, the spiciest selection from Chris is Blake Jarwin in the 19th, and the pick that stinks like poo is the kicker Kai Forbath in the 17th round who lost his job. Chris comes out of this draft rostering 2 quarterbacks with the average age of 36 years old, 6 running backs with the average age of 27.6, 10 wide receivers with the average age of 25.3, and 5 tight ends with the average age of 25. His team's total average age is 26.7 years old. This does not include any kickers or defenses. And with the second pick in the draft, I selected Saquon Barkley, George Kittle, Kenny Galladay, Calvin Ridley, then trading him for DJ Chark, Marquise Brown, Robert Woods, Jared Goff, Michael Pittman Jr., Antonio Gibson, Ronald Jones, Jordan Howard, Anthony Miller, Hayden Hurst, Chase Edmonds, Sam Darnold, Pittsburgh Steelers defense, Nyheim Hines, Jameis Winston, Harrison Butker, Nick Foles, Benny Snell, Jalen Hurd, Chris Herndon, Philadelphia Eagles defense, and Deshaun Jackson. The draft highlights for me, I would say, is my early Skittles pickup, and then my commitment to the wide receivers early, and then just going in on boomer bust running backs later on. I think another thing is my missed chance on quarterbacks. The spiciest selection for me is Antonio Gibson in the 9th round, and the pick that stinks like poo is Nick Foles. Awful. I am coming out of this draft rostering 4 quarterbacks with the average age of 26.8, 7 running backs with the average age of 23.6, 8 wide receivers with the average age of 26.2, and 3 tight ends with the average age of 26.1. with an average team age of 25.5 years old. And with the third pick in the draft, Zoms goes with Lamar Jackson, Miles Sanders, J.K. Dobbins, Courtland Sutton, Allen Robinson, Devin Singletary, Will Fuller, Henry Ruggs, Sony Michel, Austin Hooper, Zach Moss, Irv Smith Jr., Sterling Shepard, Justin Herbert, Tampa Bay defense, John Ross III, James Washington, Aldrick Rosas, Seattle Seahawks defense, Kyle Juszczyk, Bryce Love, Jalen Samuels, Miles Boykin, Devin Funchess, and Devin Asiasi. Some of Zom's draft highlights include being the first person to draft a quarterback, locking up the Ravens runners on Lamar Jackson and J.K. Dobbins, and running with no backup quarterback behind Lamar in a super flex. Bold! The spiciest selection from Zoms is Lamar Jackson at 103, and the pick that stinks like poo is Tampa Bay in round 16. Zoms comes out of this draft rostering 2 quarterbacks with an average age of 23.1, 8 running backs with an average age of 24.1, 9 wide receivers with an average age of 25.3, and 3 tight ends with an average age of 23.6. His total team average age is 24.4 years old. With the 4th pick in the draft, Connor selected Michael Thomas, Mike Evans, Travis Kelce, Jerry Jeudy, Kareem Hunt, Leonard Fournette, Carson Wentz, Mark Ingram, T. Higgins, Matthew Stafford, Drew Lock, Marvin Jones Jr., Darrell Henderson Jr., Rashad Penny, Buffalo Bills defense, Bryan Edwards, Green Bay Packers defense, David Njoku, Van Jefferson, Jay Sternberger, Antonio Gandy Golden, Dallas Cowboys defense, Kaimi Fairbairn, Josh Gordon, and Martavis Bryant. Connor's draft highlights would include drafting 0 running backs in the beginning, starting with 3 receivers and a tight end. Kareem Hunt is his first running back off the board. He also decides to draft 3 defenses. Connor's spiciest selection is Van Jefferson in the 19th round, and his pick that makes me wanna poo is Green Bay Packers defense in the 17th. Connor comes out of this draft rostering 3 quarterbacks with an average age of 28, 5 running backs with an average age of 25.8, 10 wide receivers with an average age of 25.5, and 3 tight ends with an average age of 26.4. His team total average is 26 years old. With the 5th pick in the draft, Shark takes Patrick Mahomes, followed by Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Aaron Jones, Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Swift, Jalen Reagor, David Montgomery, Justin Jefferson, Brandon Cooks, Preston Williams, Jared Cook, Teddy Bridgewater, Derek Carr, Chicago Bears, Jamison Crowder, Raquel Armstead, Jacob Eason, Carlos Hyde, Traquan Smith, Minnesota Vikings defense, Jake Elliott, Thaddeus Moss, and Russell Gage. Some of the highlights of Sharks drafts are taking 2 Chiefs players with his first 2 picks with Patty and Clyde. He then also takes 4 rookies with his first 8 picks, a solid half. The spiciest pick of Sharks draft is real easy, Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the 2nd round. The stinky poop pick is Jacob Eason in the 19th round. Shark comes out of this draft rostering 4 quarterbacks with an average age of 26.3, 6 running backs with an average age of 24.3, 8 wide receivers with an average age of 24.4, and 2 tight ends with an average age of 27.9. His team's total average age is 25.1 years old. With the 6th overall pick, Germ selects Alvin Kamara. He then goes DJ Moore, Deshaun Watson, Cam Akers, Tyler Lockett, Darren Waller, Deebo Samuel, Darius Geis, Philip Lindsay, Paris Campbell, Denzel Mims, Dallas Goedert, Jarrett Stidham, Joe Reed, Darrynton Evans, Tevin Coleman, Indianapolis Colts defense, Greg Zuerlein, Alan Lazard, Mohamed Sanu Sr., Jack Doyle, Larry Fitzgerald, Ted Ginn Jr., Alan Hearns, Kyle Rudolph. The highlights from Germ's draft were his spotty mobile selections coming in and out of auto draft picks. I will have to say Darius Geis is a highlight. We're going to throw it in there. Other than that, I'm going to love the DJ Moore pick, and we're not going to mention, yes we are, Jarrett Stidham. The spiciest pick for Germ is going to be Paris Campbell in the 10th round. The pick that smells like poop butt is obviously Jarrett Stidham in the 13th. Jim is going to come out of this draft rostering 2 quarterbacks with an average age of 24.5, 6 running backs with an average age of 24.2, 11 wide receivers with an average age of 27.4, and 4 tight ends with an average age of 28.7. Germ's team total average is 26.5 years old. With the 7th pick in the draft, Alex selects Tyreek Hill, followed by Juju Smith-Schuster, Jonathan Taylor, Mark Andrews, Todd Gurley, Jarvis Landry, Kerryon Johnson, Tom Brady, Deontay Johnson, Brandon Ayuk, Rob Gronkowski, James White, Gardner Minshew, Corey Davis, Chase Claypool, Kansas City Chiefs defense, Dede Westbrook, Emmanuel Sanders, Will Lutz, Tyrod Taylor, Giovanni Bernard, Greg Olsen, Jason Myers, Adam Troutman, Steven Sims Jr., Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and Gabriel Davis. Some of the highlights of Alex's draft is going to be the 2 wide receivers start, followed by the rookie Jonathan Taylor. He also drafts many Steelers players, and he drafts the Tom Brady-Rob Gronkowski combination. The spiciest pick for Alec is Jonathan Taylor in the 3rd round, and the pick that smells like poop is Rob Gronkowski in the 11th. Alec comes out of this draft rostering 3 quarterbacks with an average age of 32.8, 5 running backs with an average age of 25.6, 12 wide receivers with an average age of 25.2, and 4 tight ends with an average age of 28.6. His team total average age is 26.8 years old. With the 8th pick in the draft, Dylan selects Ezekiel Elliott, Josh Jacobs, Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield, Terry McLaurin, Tyler Boyd, Christian Kirk, Mecole Hardman, TJ Hawkinson, Laviska Shenault Jr., A.J. Dillon, Anthony McFarland Jr., Jonnu Smith, Drew Brees, Dwayne Haskins Jr., Golden Tate, Baltimore Ravens defense, Boston Scott, Joshua Kelly, Brashad Perriman, Jordan Love, Jamal Williams, Justin Jackson, Hunter Renfrow, and then Michael Badgley. The highlight of Dylan's draft is the impeccable trade ability that he displayed in this draft. He finished all of his picks before 20 rounds were up. He also started the draft with 2 monster running backs, and then he takes 2 young quarterbacks in Joe Burrow and Baker Mayfield, and then also scoops a young Dwayne Haskins Jr. up to pair with a veteran Drew Brees. Dylan's spiciest pick is TJ Hawkinson in the 9th round, and he does not have a pick that smells like poo. I could not find one that just seemed super out of place. So there you go, Dylan, the only player so far without a pick that smells like poo. Congratulations, you did it. Dylan comes out of this draft rostering 5 quarterbacks with an average age of 27.2, 8 running backs with an average age of 23.8, 8 wide receivers with an average age of 25.3, and 2 tight ends with an average age of 24.1. His team's total average age is 25 years old. And with the 9th pick in the draft, Ben selects Dak Prescott, followed by Chris Godwin, Julio Jones, Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen, Melvin Gordon, James Conner, Devontae Parker, David Johnson, Matt Breida, Alexander Mattison, O.J. Howard, Ryan Tannehill, Denver Broncos defense, Andy Isabella, LaMichael Pirine, Eric Ebron, Eno Benjamin, Andy Dalton, Zane Gonzalez, Antonio Brown, New Orleans Saints defense, Vance McDonald, and Dante Pettis, and Cam Newton. The highlights of Ben's drafts include the 2 strong quarterbacks and the 3 dominant receivers to start. He also then pairs that up with a bunch of one-and-done possible running backs who you don't know what their good value is going to be past this year, so we'll see. Ben's spiciest selection is going to be Julio Jones in the 3rd round. First guy to take an old head. I love it. His poo-poo pick is going to have to be Andy Dalton. Ben comes out of the draft rostering 5 quarterbacks with an average age of 29.5, 7 running backs with an average age of 24.7, 7 wide receivers with an average age of 27.3, and 3 tight ends with an average age of 27.8. His total team average age is 27.1 years old. With the 10th pick in the draft, Tyler selects Kyler Murray, Joe Mixon, Amari Cooper, Zach Ertz, CeeDee Lamb, Le'Veon Bell, Adam Thielen, Tua Tagovailoa, Hunter Henry, Tyler Higbee, Julian Edelman, Kirk Cousins, Matt Prater, Los Angeles Rams, Sammy Watkins, Justice Hill, Lynn Bowden Jr., Jalen Hurts, Younghoe Koo, Tyrell Williams, Mitchell Trubisky, LaShawn McCoy, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Cleveland Browns defense, and Kenny Stills. Some of Tyler's draft highlights include, with his first 11 picks, he has selected 6 quarterbacks and tight ends total, leaving only 5 selections available for the running back and wide receiver positions. He then selects Joe Mixon and Le'Veon Bell to carry his running back core, and then he takes Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, 2 Dallas receivers, very interesting, along with 2 old heads in Adam Thielen and Julian Edelman. For Tyler's spiciest pick, I think it's Tyler Higbee in the 11th round. And his pick that smells like poo-poo is obviously Matt Prater, a kicker, in the 13th round. Tyler comes out of this draft rostering 5 quarterbacks with an average age of 25.1, 5 running backs with an average age of 26.1, 8 wide receivers with an average age of 27.2, and 3 tight ends with an average age of 27.7. His total team average age is 26.5 years old. With the 11th pick in the draft, Smith selects Dalvin Cook, Davante Adams, A.J. Brown, Kenyon Drake, Daniel Jones, Raheem Mostert, Darius Slayton, Marlon Mack, Noah Fant, John Brown, A.J. Green, Damian Harris, Jimmy Garoppolo, Los Angeles Chargers defense, Alshon Jeffrey, Latavius Murray, Ryan Griffin, Phillip Rivers, Quintez Cephas, Jacoby Brissett, Robbie Gould, Zach Pascal, Tennessee Titans defense, DJ Dallas, and Albert Wilson. Some highlights from Smith's draft are the strong running back depth that he got, the bold selections with injured receivers like A.J. Green and Alshon Jeffrey, and I will also say that Danny Dimes over Josh Allen is interesting. The spiciest selection for Smiths is going to be Kenyon Drake in the 4th round. I think that's a great value for what he can do. His poo-poo pick is going to be Jacoby Brissett. Smiths comes out of the draft rostering 4 quarterbacks with an average age of 29.4, 7 running backs with an average age of 25.8, 9 wide receivers with an average age of 27.1, and 2 tight ends with an average age of 26.7. His team's total average age is 27 years old. With the last pick in the draft, Matt selects Nick Chubb, DeAndre Hopkins, Derrick Henry, Russell Wilson, Cooper Kupp, Michael Gallup, Chris Carson, Mike Gesicki, Mike Williams, Curtis Samuel, Tony Pollard, Justin Tucker, San Francisco defense, Robbie Anderson, Tariq Cohen, Cole Kmet, Ben Roethlisberger, Royce Freeman, Devin Duvernay, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, James Prochet, Tyler Johnson, Gerald Everett, Willie Snead, and Randall Cobb. Some highlights from Matt's draft are the fact that he was on vacation during this draft and his internet was a little spotty, so we did cut out when he drafted Justin Tucker. Before that, he drafted some running backs that do not catch the ball. Very interesting. But he also drafted touchdown dominant receivers, which you gotta like. Matt's spiciest pick in the draft is going to be Michael Gallup with the 6th round pick. His poo-poo pick is going to be, an auto draft pick. I'm going to say Cole Kmet with the 16th round. Matt comes out of this draft rostering 2 quarterbacks with an average age of 35.1 years old, 6 running backs with an average age of 25, 12 wide receivers with an average age of 25.6, and 3 tight ends with an average age of 24.2. His total team average age is 26.1 years old. Now, it's time for the Sparta Dynasty Startup Draft Awards, starting with the biggest steal of the draft, which goes to Ben for drafting Cam Newton with the second to last pick. The runner-up is Branson for drafting Deshaun Jackson in the 24th round. The biggest reach of the draft goes to Al for drafting Gronk in the 11th round. And runner-up goes to Zoms for drafting the Tampa Bay defense in the 16th. The next award is going to be for the most trades during the draft, which goes to Dylan for 6 trades. The runner-up is Shark with 3 trades. The least amount of trade award goes to a tie of Chris, Connor, Germ, and Matt, who did not trade at all. The next award is for the most veteran players of 30 plus years of age, and that award goes to Ben for 6 players. The runner-ups are a tie between Alec, Germ, and Smits with 5 veteran players. The award for the most rookies drafted is a tie between Dylan, Connor, and Shark with 6 rookies drafted. The runner-ups are Zoms, Traxler, and Al with 5 rookies. Now it's time for the oldest quarterbacks award, which goes to Chris for having an average quarterback age of 36 years old. The runner-up for this award is Matt with an average age of 35.1 years old. The award for the youngest quarterback group goes to Zoms for an average age of 23.1 years old, and the runner-up is Germ with an average age of 24.5 years old. The oldest running back group award goes to Chris, again, with an average age of 27.6 years old, and the runner-up, the next highest, is Tyler with an average age of 26.1 years old. The youngest running back group award goes to Branson for an average age of 23.6 years old, and the runner-up is Dylan with an average age of 23.8 years old. The oldest wide receiver group award goes to Germ with an average age of 27.4 years old, and the runner-up is Ben at 27.3, very close. The youngest wide receiver group award goes to Shark with an average age of 24.4, and the runner-up is Alec with an average age of 25.2. The oldest tight end group award goes to Germ, again, with an average age of 28.7 years old, and the runner-up is Alec, right behind him, with an average age of 28.6 years old. The youngest tight end group award goes to Zoms, again, with an average age of 23.6 years old, and the runner-up is Dylan, with an average age of 24.1. The oldest team award goes to Ben with an average age of 27.1, even though he didn't have a single group. And the runner-up is Smits with an average age of 27 years old. The youngest team award goes to Zoms, not surprisingly, with an average age of 24.4 years old, and the next closest is Dylan with an average age of 25. And now it's time for the biggest, most important awards, the best looking draft, which goes to Dylan, because he was able to get his guys while trading backwards in order to get extra later round picks, allowing him to complete his positional draft 5 rounds earlier than everyone else. The runner-up is Ben, because Ben went into this draft targeting guaranteed production while avoiding high-risk players. He drafts what might be the scariest starting lineup while still picking up great value late in the draft. And the award for the worst looking draft goes to Germ, who managed to have extremely poor post-draft luck with Darius Geis's retirement from the league, as well as his backup quarterback losing his starting job days later. This has left Germ with an incredibly thin roster with a lot of work cut out for him. Zoms is the runner-up for this award, who went into this draft looking for the young, boomer-bust options while avoiding any and all guaranteed vets. This is a very volatile choice, and with the lack of any solid depth outside of the running back position due to some questionable later round selections, this could leave Zom scrambling for startable players while waiting for his young talent to develop. And with that, we conclude our Sparta Dynasty Startup Draft Awards. Thank you for watching.